Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us for our monthly sales meeting. My name is Alan Richardson. I'm the managing broker at Max One Realty Partners kind of thing. So I want to kind of jump in and talk about what's happening in the market, some things we see going on, trying to help you position yourselves so that you are in the right place and being able to educate your clients and also position yourself for success and growth. So let's talk about what's happening right now overall in our marketplace right now. So right now we are seeing inventory increasing. Inventory is increasing heavily. It has been for the entire year, basically. Since the beginning of the year, we've seen increasing inventory levels. And so those increasing inventory levels are affecting a lot of things going on right now, in particular price. So, but what we're seeing right now, as far as like active listings, so the top, this is coming from Georgia MLS, the bottom is coming from FMLS. So in Georgia MLS, we have 27% more active listings. In FMLS, we have almost 40%, 37% more listings than we had 1 year ago. So who's this good for? How about us? Like, you know, there's a lot of people who like it's very easy to be like, oh my gosh, the inventory is increasing. Like 2021, 2022, we were begging for inventory. We didn't have enough inventory. And honestly, we still don't quite have enough inventory. Yeah. New listings, the number of new listings coming in the market is actually tapering down. It's up 8% over last year. In Georgia MLS, 4.3. That had been in double digits in the previous months. So we are seeing where there is a little bit of a slowdown of new listings coming on the market. It is still more than last year, but it is not to the same level that we had been seeing earlier this year. By the way, if you want these slides, be glad to share them with you. McKinsey will send them out if you want them, kind of thing. So now, days on market also increasing. You can see the days on market this year versus last year substantially greater. So overall, it's 67 days in Georgia MLS, 41 days in FMLS. So we are seeing more inventory. So we're also seeing longer days on market. Who do we need to be communicating this to? Sellers in especially right now. You know, we have over the last 5-6 years, our sellers got very used to, well, do you think we're going to get 5 offers or are we going to get 10 offers? You know, are we going to sell in 1 week or are we going to sell in 2 weeks, kind of thing? And we're moving into a range, a time where real estate is going back to a much more normal place. However, especially our sellers right now are having a little bit of shock. Our sellers are not used to this, and this feels very uncomfortable. How many offers do you need to sell a house? 1, right? So the days of you know, people fighting over your property, all that kind of stuff, they're not here right now. And so we are in a place where we are in a much more balanced market. Now, talking about that balance, this is the number of months of standing inventory that we have. Overall, in Georgia MLS, we're sitting at 4.8 months of standing inventory. In FMLS, we're sitting at 4.7 months of standing inventory. But that's not the complete picture. That's overall. And so we need, traditionally, we've needed 6 months of inventory to have a balanced market. We are looking a little bit differently right now because what's happening is we're seeing a breakdown based on price. And so, like, this is overall 4.7 months of inventory. But if you look at it on properties from 200,000 to 350, it's 4 months of inventory. And if you look at properties from 350 to 600, it's 4.5 months of standing inventory. If you look at properties over 600,000, it's 6 months of inventory. So it's highly based on price point. You know, we still don't, you know, like we don't have as much inventory as we'd like to have under 350. We are seeing a lot more inventory over 600 though. And so the idea that, you know, and every market is very, very different, right? You have your different pricing tiers, but you know, what's $600,000 going to get you in Alpharetta? A little bit better than that's kind of a little bit. That's kind of a starter home in Alpharetta, right? What's 600,000 going to get you in Griffin? Or Macon, right? It just kind of depends, right? So every market is not the same. Still location, location, location. That's going to carry heavy, very, very much forward. But we are seeing a big change in those different price tiers. Now, if you have a seller who's listing over 600,000, do they want to hear this? But is this the reality? Yeah. See, that's one thing that we're having to be, I'm not going to say aggressive about providing comparables and being firm when we're talking about what the offer price that we're going to make is for listing our properties. But what we're seeing right now is there's a huge number of properties that are going off the market and expiring, right? Oh, by the way, if you're looking for the best deals out there, condos. 8 months of standing inventory on condos. So again, if you are looking at, if you have buyers looking for, where do you think you're going to find your best deals? And the place where there's the greatest amount of inventory. That's what, like supply versus demand heavily influences residential real estate. And so the place where we have the greatest amount of supply is in condos right now. Now, overall, please don't think that this means that we are heading into a real long-term where we're going to have tons of oversupply. This is kind of what's happened overall with the building and the construction status over the last 12 years in the United States. So only 3 out of the last 12 years have we built as many houses as people needed to buy. So right now we're sitting on a deficit of 7.5 years. We need 7.5 years just to catch up with inventory. Now we have a lot of buyers sitting on the sidelines right now. And that's one thing I really want to come through from today is that we have a ton of pent-up demand. If you look at just the numbers as they present right now, you would think, wow, we're in really bad space. We aren't. There is a ton of pent-up demand. A lot of it's highly tied into interest rates. And so we definitely have some challenges there. We are seeing it moderate closer to the 6.5s right now, that kind of stuff. But these are the market realities for where we are right now. Pending sales are down 13% in Georgia MLS, 20% in FMLS. However, that's not the real complete picture because actually, if you look at closed sales, the number of homes we actually sold, that's up in both Georgia MLS and in FMLS. We're up over last year. So we are still seeing good, like solid sales, not anywhere to the level that we want to see them necessarily. So, but here's a big disconnect that we have to get over with our sellers. Eight out of 10 of your sellers thinks that they're going to get at full price or over asking on their listing right now. Now, I'm not saying that they can't get full price or over asking. But what they're not going to do is they're not going to get full price over asking and overprice their home. The only way that they're going to get full price or over asking is if they're pricing their home competitively. And in this market, that's going to be the key here. We have to understand that it's going to be about being really, really competitive, and price is going to be the king, right? 4 in 10 sellers, however, sold for less than their asking price. So we have a perception versus reality game going on right now. So the homes that are overpriced, what's happening on them? They're sitting there, right? Collecting dust. And so we're seeing where that's a big deal going on right now. 1/3 of our sellers have had to reduce their asking price. So the idea of I'm just going to throw it out there. I just want to try this price. That is not working. That is not a successful strategy. That is a very successful strategy for you to waste a lot of marketing time and dollars and not sell a house. And we've reached a point where we're kind of going back to the old adage, right? Early bird gets the worm, but the second realtor sells the house. The number of expired listings is increasing. If you aren't staying firm with your sellers and talking about price and being realistic with price, then it's going to expire. They're going to wait a little bit. They're going to relist it with somebody else at the price that you recommended in the first place. A lot of us have not been very firm with price. And I'm not saying that you have to get into like this isn't a battle kind of thing, but it's very realistic. Because what you don't want to have happen is that seller come back to you and say, why hasn't my house sold? And you'd be like, well, I'm doing it. As opposed to, I told you that we need to reduce the price. Now, they may not like to hear it, but you have to be able to do that. Otherwise, who do they blame? If you don't stand firm on your price, who do they blame? You haven't done an open house. You haven't promoted my listing. I couldn't find it on Zillow. Where was it on this one? Have you emailed this to anybody? Are you talking to buyers? They blame us. So stand firm on price. It's very important right now. All right. Now, when it comes to price reductions right now, we are having more price reductions than, gosh, since 2007 that I've seen. We're having a lot of price reductions. So the market is correcting itself. Now, we aren't seeing that, remember, we aren't seeing that equate into big losses in value, but we are seeing where our prices are really, really flat last year. But again, that's going to be highly dependent on price point as well as location. Everybody with me? Yeah. All right. Now, so this is from the senior economist at Redfin. When buyers and sellers are on different planets, one side has to eventually give in. It looks like the sellers are losing right now. I can't say that that's going to, like my crystal ball says that we're going to be looking at very, very flat pricing. We're not going to be looking at aggressive pricing. And the challenge is that for our sellers, especially over the last 5 years, we had over 50% property value appreciation. When you have that for 5 years, people tend to think that my property needs to keep going up that much. They would check their values and be like, we made more money. Right now, what's happening with values? They're sitting there. So like that's kind of the reality of where we're at. So we got to be straight up about that. And so you can see the overall sales price is flat in Georgia MLS 0.4%, and it's down 1.7% at FMLS. Right? This is supply versus demand playing out in real time in our industry right before our eyes. Right? We're just not seeing, or you can see why the pricing is where it is. Now, we still have a lot of pent-up demand. So don't think that we're heading into, are we going, the other big question that I'm starting to get right now is, well, when's the crash coming? When's the crash coming? There's no crash coming, right? We're having a market correction. We still don't have enough housing out there to supply demand. So please don't feel like that's the case of what's going on, but we are seeing where just based off where our current market is right this minute. So now, what's that really equate to for us here? Well, our median sales price versus our median list price. There's a difference of $33,000 right now. So the average seller is asking $33,000 more than the average sold price. That's kind of your number right there. That's the swing. That's the difference. And so again, I know it seems like I'm just harping on price, but if you don't stand firm with price and you aren't getting your sellers to be realistic, then then listing that property is only going to be an exercise in futility for you and for them. I know it's not necessarily good news, right? So, but that being said, are we worried about the market? No, we're not worried about the real estate market. We're not worried about things crashing. We're not worried about any of that. However, this is the reality of where we're at right now. If sellers want to sell, they're going to have to be realistic on their price. And so use your comparative market analysis, use your equity assessment, show them the data. The days of just going in saying, well, I know this neighborhood, and this neighborhood normally sells for 400, and yeah, we'll list it for this. That should be gone. You need to be able to go through and show them exactly what's happening in the marketplace. Let them look at the numbers, show them the comparables, and show them the most recent comparables. Show them expired listings because they're all going to be around the price they want to list at, right? Those kind of things. So stand firm. It's important that we're doing that. So I started off with Taylor Swift, and I want to talk about Taylor Swift a little bit. And I know that sounds a little bit weird, right? So I was reading an article about Taylor Swift and about her as a business person kind of thing. And it's interesting because she has some very interesting business practices that equate directly to real estate. And so what if we sold real estate the way Taylor Swift did music? What would that look like? And so I want to kind of talk about that because there is a lot of synergy that we can get from her. Now, Taylor, by the way, she's also a huge real estate investor. Those are all some of her homes. She owns over $150 million in real estate. So is she big about real estate also? I too am big about real estate. So that works out really good. However, so, she started off at 16. And in her 34-year career, she has now, I'm sorry, at age of 34, she's worth $1.6 billion. Now, that doesn't happen by accident, right? She is a successful businesswoman. She is a very smart businesswoman. She is very driven. And there's some things that we can definitely take from her. I'm not talking about, can we go make songs? That's not what it is. It's about how does she structure and set up her business? Because it is different than a lot of other artists out there. So her strategy overall, she is very much about community. I mean, is anybody in here Swiftie? I'm looking at you, Mackenzie. But like she's built this whole community of people that follow her and she engages with. She has her own brand, so we have to own her own brand. She really does reward her super fans. She builds a lot of anticipation and then she keeps engaging. She is a huge player when it comes to just the velocity of output that she puts in. So when you look at community, when she was first starting out, she had 27,000 interactions with other people on Tumblr. Y'all remember Tumblr? That just shows you how old this is. I mean, when she really started really rocking kind of thing. And now, even today, you'll see her post and comment to fans' comments on Twitter, Snapchat, TikToks, whole nine yards. She's still out there engaging with people. She is very, very plugged into her community. How plugged in are to you? How plugged in are you to your community, right? Are you approachable? If not, you have to take the initiative. Does she sit back and wait for people to come? No, she reaches out, she engages. That's the same thing that we need to be doing out here. So it's about engage, work on that. Setting up our databases, utilizing our databases, having lead systems that to where we can go and engage. The same thing that she's doing. She goes out and she shares, what's going on in her life. Share resources, share real estate information, share properties. It's the same principle, right? She's out there engaging with her fans, engaging with the folks that she wants to do business with. That's the exact same thing we should be doing. She definitely has her own brand. Now, I personally am not a huge Swiftie. I'm not a big Taylor Swift fan when it comes to like the music, the genre, that kind of stuff. But does she look like every other artist out there? She has her own brand. She has her own style, right? And so for you, us as real estate professionals, we definitely need to stay relatable, right? People need to feel like they can approach us and engage with us. Don't try and be everything to everybody in real estate. That's why we have target clients and we have niches that we really do focus on. Is she trying to do rap and hard rock and all this other kind of stuff? She pretty much stays like she has built a brand, and that's the same thing that you need to be doing, right? We need to be highlighting lifestyle, coffee, backyard, barbecues, that kind of life thing going on. Being a neighborhood marketing expert, being a buyer's agent, own those principles that make the most sense for you. But be your brand and then embrace your brand. Don't try and be like every single, I just see where agents all the time, like one time they are a seller's agent, right? They're going to be listing houses. Next thing you know, they're a HUD home specialist. Next thing you know, they're investor agents. Next thing you know, it's the flavor of the week. That's not the case. When you build a brand, you want a brand that people can count on that's consistent. Own your brand. And then reward your super fans, right? So for her, she has huge social media events kind of thing, exclusive fan events. She has listening parties, online communities. She asks for their feedback on things. She is very generous in giving in both information and time. She shares a lot of personal information. We can do the exact same thing, right? I mean, making phone calls to folks, sending birthday cards, sending handwritten notes, sending text messages. Like we can be very, very engaging along the same line. I mean, personal touches, pop buys, these kind of things build huge engagement, and folks love us for that. That is a really strong place for us to be. She builds a lot of anticipation, and whenever she's getting ready to like drop an album, she always drops a single 3 months beforehand, kind of thing. She drops separate music videos before she does the album. She drops Easter eggs and all those in all those videos. So we can do coming soon, pre-release teaser, Instagram sneak peeks, all that kind of stuff. When we're listing property, we should be doing this, following the same premise on here. And then velocity. I know velocity sounds like a funny word, but like when you look at just the sheer output that Taylor puts out here, kind of thing. I mean, like over 11 years, 2006 to 2017, she put out 82 songs. 2019 to 22, she put out 125 songs. Right? So just the volume of work that she puts in out there is really, really kind of staggering when you look at how much she's putting out. And then compare that with how often are we making phone calls? How many text messages are we sending? How many emails? How many properties? How many Facebook posts? How many handwritten notes? Instagram reels, YouTube videos, short form, hosting events. See, it really, really does come down to this frequency of interaction in real estate. You want to be known in real estate? Start posting, start engaging. If you weren't part of the mastermind on Monday, Tony Walker shared a phenomenal 30-day plan, which you can go on there. You can catch the replay on there. You can reach out to Tony Walker, but it's something where you post every single day. When you start building that velocity, when you start building that level of engagement, it's going to help you grow your business. Like that's the exact same thing. She puts out a lot. And what we find is the same thing in the real estate profession. Agents that are like every time that we all follow other agents, every time that you go on Facebook, you see those folks who are posting, you see those folks who are engaging. Guess who's selling houses? Those people, right? That's the same kind of thing. And then we have a whole lot of people that sit back and just say, it's not for me. I don't want to do that. I'm too young. I'm too old. I'm too fat. I'm too thin. I'm too this. I'm too that. We talk ourselves out of it. So go out and engage. See, like every 8 minutes, every minute, 8 houses sell. Right? If you work it out, we're going to sell about 4 million houses this year, not counting new construction. You work that out, it's 8 houses sell every single minute in the US. What are we waiting for? What are we people can be very down and up on the real estate market. I find personally that we tend in the real estate industry to feel very much like the average American consumer. And so when Americans are feeling kind of anxious and leery, so are real estate folks. And then that affects our business. We talk ourselves out of business. Sometimes we tell ourselves things are bad. We talk about how things are not happening. And right now we've got folks that are rocking this world who are doing more sales than they've ever done. Because you know what? They don't listen to that crap. Right? Stay consistent, stay vigilant, keep pushing out there. And so that's really kind of my big message here is that even though like I know when I was putting together today's sales meeting, I was like, it seems like you're kind of being negative Nelly, right? Like you're just like, but like there's a lot of really great things happening in real estate. But if you decide that things are crappy, nothing's going to change that. You're going to have to fight that battle the whole time. So don't get swayed into all that kind of stuff. Focus on your activities, not on your outcomes. Focus on your activities, not what's happening in the market. So that's what's really, really important. Go with me? And can you see how we can sell houses like Taylor now? Yeah, okay, good. All right. So we have lots of CE classes coming up here in the future. Please, you can go to mx1training.com on there. We have I've got negotiating, investing classes. We have George MLS coming. We have all sorts of classes. Please go to mx1training.com. The reason I bring this up is every summer, I know there's a lot of things going on, but we don't stop CE. We don't stop training. However, a lot of folks just gotta take the summers off. And I get that. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have some time off. You should absolutely have some time off. But don't stop learning. when you stop learning, that's when you put yourself behind. You need to make sure that you're always putting new stuff in, always learning, always growing. It's really, really important that you're continuing to do that. Also, sales meetings are going to be changing in the future a little bit here. So we've been combining office locations already. We've been doing that for several months now. So Airport in Conyers, Airport in Fayetteville, McDonough Conyers, and then in Carrollton, that kind of stuff. I'm going to start holding multiple sales meetings throughout the month. And they're all going to be in person. So like today I'm in Fayetteville, but for the folks who are in Conyers, they're like, why is he down here? He doesn't love us. That's not what it is. So we're gonna change it up. We're gonna start having 3 different sales meetings a month. You're welcome to come to every single one of them. You'll hear the same message all 3 times, but you'll be able to get those in those different offices. And we do like coming together. I mean, like right now, I've got folks from Airport. I got folks from Fayetteville. I got folks from McDonough here, that kind of stuff. And that's really great for us to interact and be engaging with each other. So we're not going to be doing just straight videos kind of thing in the offices. We're going to be doing live ones. Then we're going to continue to have lunch and learns and things like that make it a little bit more fun and engaging and basically fun for you. Airport office is moving. Dun, dun, dun. I know, right? And so we are moving the office, and it's going to be a real chore because we are moving all the way to next door. All right. Yeah, exactly. So we are moving from 1590 to 1580. So please, if you get there and you're like, what happened? Like, just walk next door. That's where we're at. So we are moving the airport office. I didn't want everybody freaking out kind of thing. So we are going to move it, but we ain't moving far. It's still the same parking lot. It's not going to be that big a deal. So I just wanted to give everyone the heads up on there. And then we did want to recognize our top producers. Sorry, Tracy, I didn't have your list on here, but these are our top salespeople. So overall for the company, we got Letty, Nicole, Ron, Shannon Kirk, Levi, Letitia, Carol, Kareem, Angela, and Sokim. And so those are our top producers for the company here. And then now we're going to break off and do our local thing. So thank you very much. Love and appreciate y'all. And now we're going to change to local.